Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of WheelNutsF1. What a race weekend we had. We're going to be reviewing today the Miami Grand Prix, which saw Lando Norris's first win. Great news. Max hit the bollard, which caused some interesting situations, and a surprise sprint from Daniel Ricciardo. We'll be breaking this all down today. Let's see. Hopefully, we don't get roasted too much. How are you doing, JB?
I'm nervous, bro. We're gonna get absolutely cooked today. I can see Caden's already in the chat, winding it up. He's got the receipts on
Yep.
hand. He's been exposing us a bit on the socials already. Um, oh no, it's already begun. No, I'm doing alright. I'm doing alright. It was a great race. Let's start there. It was a
Was.
fantastic race. Um,
I
obviously, when
was
you have
pleasantly surprised.
Me as well. I mean, obviously, when you have safety cars jumbling up the order, it's always quite exciting. Um, and obviously, the commentator's curse, especially with Lando in the past, has been quite scary. So it was good to see him break that curse. But yeah, without further ado, I think we should just jump into the whole thing.
Yeah, I think let's start with the sprint. I think that's a good place to start. Oh my God, our comment section today is just gonna be fun facts, which is okay because it's more
Oh
engagement for
no.
us, but it's deserved. It's okay, it's deserved. We did speak a lot of shit last week about
Oh
McLaren,
no.
so fair enough. But yeah, sprint. Interesting turn one incident. Who do you think that was to fault? I have a bit of an interesting opinion on that.
Um, what turn one incident involving Lewis Hamilton diving up the inside?
Yeah. And Fernando and Lance turning into each other also, and
I
unfortunately Lando being the ultimate loser, unfortunately there.
I would put it down to Lewis mostly. We saw almost a repeat incident with Perez in the first corner, kind of obviously to a much more severe extent in the main race.
He was
But
1 cent. Did you see? He was 1 centimeter away from Max, dude.
yeah, that was
What?
ridiculously terrifying. But yeah, I do put most of the blame on Lewis. Obviously, when you come up the inside like that with such a severe move, that kind of looked like an open lobby kind of attempt into just gaining
That's true.
positions in the first corner. So down to Lewis, but again, there could have been a bit better avoiding action from some of the other cars around him. Um, I don't think any penalty was deserved. I think, yeah, it's a turn one incident. It's a racing incident. It happens. It wasn't a very severe kind of collision at turn one as we've seen in the past. So yeah, I mean, it happens.
I totally agree. I just don't like this narrative that it was all Lewis because yes, it was partially his fault, but there was also some contact before that. He he was also racing the Haas. I think it was just as easy for the Haas to be that person to fly down the inside. Um, and yeah, Fernando and Stroll already clashed before then, before Lewis arrived at the scene. But I do think he was, let's say, a catalyst in that situation. So from that side, yeah. But sprint race was good. It wasn't all as exciting as the main race, but it was good. Surprising.
Sorry, dude.
We will be discussing the bet later. Don't worry. We have not forgotten. I have not, as much as I want to. Um,
Sorry, you were saying.
but
You were saying.
yeah,
Sorry.
sprint was pretty good. A little bit boring because Max just got in, and every now and then I had a bit of heartbreak watching Leclerc close up a bit, and I thought, yes, now he's gonna start reeling him in, and nothing really. So yeah, all round okay for me. But oh yes, that's what I was saying. Daniel Ricciardo made an impressive performance. It dropped
Ridiculous,
off for the rest of the weekend, but
for sure.
and that's what I want to start talking about. Is he's a tough one because he pulls out these performances every now and then when it's like extremely good, and then he gets dominated by Yuki again.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think overall it's a positive weekend for Daniel. I think he just made one mistake in qualifying for the main race, and then listen, the V carb doesn't have the best top speed, and I mean we even saw the Haas cooking the Mercedes in a top speed contest. It's not a slouch in a straight line. So I think, listen, we've seen the entire season. Your preparation lap on your tires is so key, and I think Daniel just got that wrong. We saw him obviously coming out of the last corner. We got the onboard of him trying to race up to the line. If he had nailed that corner with the rear end grip, he would have made it into Q2. I think he would have progressed further. But yeah, as I said, I don't think his preparation lap was sufficient. I think that's something that he's still struggling in. But I mean, you cannot discredit what he did this weekend. He held a Ferrari. Well, as of this weekend, not the second fastest car, but over this whole season, the consistent second fastest car has been held up by a V-carb. And you cannot discredit that. And Carlos has been having a ridiculously good season. He is on fire.
Yeah,
He's got the pace. And Daniel managed to keep him behind in a vastly inferior car. So I really don't think you can say anything bad about Daniel's weekend. I think obviously you can point out his quality mistake, but he had a good race. I think that they kind of made a little bit of a blunder by not putting him at the first stop during the main race. But I mean, we'll get to that in a second. But in terms of like a sprint, I think that, you know what, overall positive, brilliant result. P4 was as good as he could have ever imagined. And yeah, I think he can take some confidence coming out of this weekend.
I think so too, and it is problematic in the way that it does reshape the narrative of Daniel Ricciardo being better than Yuki, which is a bit unfortunate because Yuki, if anything, has shown he's been consistent. He's constantly been there, whereas Daniel Ricciardo has had a bit up and down, and I think it's just tough to be Yuki right now. It's just tough being Yuki right now because there's the strong narrative with. Sorry, that comment just completely made me lose my train of thought.
Yeah, I saw as well. That was very funny.
Yeah, there's a strong narrative with Daniel Ricciardo being the better driver, and I think that just keeps happening because every time it starts sort of simmering down, Daniel Ricciardo puts in a weekend like today, like last weekend, and then all of a sudden it's back in. So yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's another situation like one of those driver pair-ups where Daniel's got a higher peak. For sure, not even a question, higher peak. But Yuki's just quietly, consistently putting in the results, and you cannot fault Yuki for that. Yuki is having a fantastic season. They're starting to deliver on the promise of the V-carb from pre-season testing. We predicted that it would be really good. Everyone predicted it would be really good. It seems that they've kind of, gotten a grips to the car a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I would say overall a positive weekend from both V-carb drivers. Obviously, Daniel in the race would have done better if he had a bit of a better qualifying performance. But I mean, we saw what he could have done, and he delivered that on at least one of the races. It's better than no result. And if he can take confidence away from this, there was rumors of him being replaced after the Miami GP by Liam Lawson. Don't know how true those would have been. But obviously Red Bull is a bit trigger happy with early replacements on their drivers. So I just think that he just needs to keep building on this and cement himself as a consistent driver, as a proper figurehead in the V-carb camp in order to even be considered for a drive at another top team.
100%. And talking of drivers, this could have been Logan Sargent's last weekend.
It could have been. It might have been. We'll still wait and see. I believe you're going to get onto the Mercedes news with Antonelli.
Yes. So this could be Logan Sargent's last weekend because Mercedes have applied for a license exemption because you have to be 18 to drive in Formula One, and they've applied for an exemption for Kimi Antonelli. So a lot of signs pointing at him replacing Logan Sargent from as early as Imola. What do you think of that?
That's terrifying, bro. This stresses me out, bro. This really stresses me out is when we've seen it happen before where you shove juniors into a category they're not ready for and they don't perform. They sink rather than swim. I think the right move here is to allow Antonelli to develop in a category and hone his craft.
That's fair.
I really do believe so. And if I'm honest, I'm not too sure exactly how that would affect them because they don't want to lose it. Obviously, they lost Max in a similar fashion back in 2014, trying to push him into F2 instead of giving him the seat when Toro Rosso offered him the seat. But again, it's a risk. I think you need. There's an argument you need to take it. Logan is not doing the business. He has potential, but he's not unlocking it, and he is causing severe amounts of capital loss to Williams.
And I think that's the big thing, isn't it?
Exactly that. So I think get Antonelli into Williams and treat it almost like a George Russell situation. Let him develop there until you actually have to make a decision as to who is going to be in your Mercedes seat. And I mean that seat's still up for debate. Who is going to be in that seat? Nobody really knows. So I mean, I don't know. It's a 50-50 in my eyes whether they should or shouldn't do it. But yeah, I do feel like they've given Logan enough time, and he should be performing at a little bit higher of a level.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think especially considering Williams just do not have the funds to keep funding mistakes. I mean, you could make an argument that Antonelli could be in that similar position, but the difference is his upside is far greater. You will much happier take some of the crashes from him being a rookie, knowing that once he puts it together, he will be a force for us. Even if he is going to go into Merc, it's okay because, man, we will benefit out of that. So, yeah, quite interesting. I think also moving on to some more interesting stuff, I want to touch on that race start also, because Carlos Sainz was a hero in my eyes at the race start. He saved a multi-car pileup. Perez was, to use your term, like a terrorist. He flew in there. Flew. I mean, 1 centimeter away from Max, we could have had an even more exciting race because then we would have had 5 people fighting for first place with like 5 seconds to separate them.
Brother, that would have been a modern day. That would have been a modern day Spain 2016 situation. I'm telling you right now, the drama would have unfolded big time. Ridiculous
then you
reaction
would have
time.
seen explosions.
Exactly that. Yeah. Ridiculous reaction time from the Ferrari driver being able to avoid that. And I mean, just what on earth was that, bro? Like, I almost shat myself. It was ridiculous. It was so scary. Perez is, I don't know. I feel like he's got this tendency, like we saw in Mexico last year. We've seen it in a couple of races where he just kind of oversteps the bounds when it's in terms of the first corner, and that is quite terrifying, especially when your teammate's right there, and that could have screwed up the whole race for everybody. Yep. It would have caused a monumental mix-up in the order.
And I mean, 1 centimeter at. What were they doing at that point of the apex? Probably like 80 k's an hour. 1 centimeter is
that's
insane.
Terrifying. But yeah, glad that nobody was collided at the first corner. It allowed the race to play out as it was supposed to be. But yeah, again, just sloppy from Perez.
Talking of sloppy, I think now's a good chance to also go on to Sainz. Or let me put this one comment in. I think that Perez sometimes gets that when he starts a bit further back and he feels too pressured that,
for sure.
Okay, I need to put myself in a position that I can defend, manage the pack for Max, and I need to do whatever I can, because I feel like sometimes that's sort of the pressure placed on him from Red Bull, is that we need you there at all costs.
For sure.
And so I think that then also manifested later with Sainz, where he just let his temper get too much to him, and unfortunately he had the move on Piastri really well, and then he didn't. I think he just locked up the rear, and it just slid out. It was a very awkward accident, like clash. I haven't seen a clash like that, I don't think.
I haven't seen one in recent memory where you've had such a low-speed rear lock that just resulted in such significant damage to a front wing.
It was weird, yeah.
I just think it was probably something to do with the angle that it actually collided at, because I think Piastri was committed into the corner, he was for sure trying to make a switchback on Carlos before the rear slid out and actually collected the front wing. Again, listen, this is my Ferrari bias. I'll get eaten alive for this. I don't think it was a justified penalty. There was sufficient room on the racetrack for 2 cars to be. Granted, one, yes, made the mistake. But if we look at the incident the lap earlier, Carlos Sainz was shoved in all 4 wheels off the track, no space given. Which, I mean, you're allowed to do under circumstances.
So that's where I disagree. Also, we just lost a viewer. I think it was Caden tuning out because of your comment.
Dude, fair enough. no, he's still here. He's still here. Okay, good.
I disagree.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you're free to disagree. I'm not going to lie. My ideas, I said before my comment, it was probably it was probably a biased comment to say because of my Ferrari fondness. But again, I just there's plenty of room on the racetrack. If you go back and you see the screenshots of it, there's more than enough cars width for Oscar to go around the outside. There's more than enough room on the inside for Piastri to fit a car. It just so happened that Piastri stuck to that specific angle, and that's very unlucky. So to be given the 5 second, yes, he ruined Oscar's race. No doubt about it. Oscar got absolutely shafted in that situation. But again, it's like, from my biased point of view, I really don't think that. Okay, no, wait, I do think it maybe could have been a penalty, but I don't think it should have been.
I think the defining factor was the damage. If that had happened and there was no damage and Oscar didn't have to pit, I don't think it would have been penalty and we would have been calling it hard racing. I think the fact that Carlos lost control of his car and that resulted in the collision is the deciding factor. And I think the lap before, where Oscar pushed him off, it was tough. I think it was on the limit, and that's one of those where we do talk about in F1 sort of shoulders out. But I thought that was okay. It was tough, don't get me wrong, but I thought it was just on the limit in terms of, he put his shoulders out and it was his corner. He had the apex, and that was something that they mentioned even to Oscar Piastri, which I appreciated the broadcast letting us in on that.
For sure.
But if it wasn't contact and he'd been given a penalty, I'd be on your side right now and shouting, no penalty, no penalty. But yeah, I just saw it as a bit clumsy, maybe a bit too temper-fueled, rage-induced.
For sure. No, I mean,
saw a bit of the red flag.
I agree. I don't like it when drivers do conduct themselves in that way. Because, yeah, I mean, listen, Oscar pushed you off track. Like, that's shoulders out, it's racing, that's not a penalty. The fact that you then go on the radio and you start demanding that he hands the position back, and then you lose your temper when nothing happens, and you shout at your race engineer who's just trying to get your head back in the right space. I mean,
Correct.
yeah, I mean that wasn't cool. So I think it was for sure a rage-induced or an anger-induced incident and mistake. But yeah, I mean, I just think it in my eyes it's a little bit harsh to give a 5 second when there was that much space on the racetrack. But again, probably because of my bias.
Fair. Talking of rage, you know who really enraged me this weekend, and I know you're on my side.
Kevin Magnussen.
Kevin Magnussen.
What a
I'm getting really tired of him not getting in. Like, he gets penalties, but it's not many license point penalties, which is my anger frustration. Because right now, he's not racing for points. He's racing to protect Hulkenberg's points, so you can give him a 2-minute penalty, and he's going to come out of the race and say, yeah, well, I deserved all those penalties, on to the next one. But at the end of the day, the team's going, well done, well done, well done. You got 2 minutes of penalties. Doesn't matter. We got a car in the point. So that is really frustrating me because I think the FIA needs to do more because it's not all of his driving, but there's just one or two that I think that's over the limit. There's hard racing, and then that is so over the limit.
But it's dangerous, bro. It's not even like
It is.
we saw Fernando Alonso receive his penalty for driving standards in Melbourne, and we were enraged by that. But he got the same time penalty that Kevin Magnussen got for driving himself and another driver completely off the track. And that's not even the first time he's done it this season, which is really what's bothering me
At
now.
all.
He did it in Saudi as well. And
Saudi was a slugfest, man. Like,
Exactly.
he was beating people.
So I don't know. The FIA needs to take a bit more hands-on. Back in the day, we probably would have seen a race ban for something like that. But I don't know, dude. Second time in a season it's happened, and then in the main race you go and you try and pull that move on Logan Sargent. I mean, I just don't know. That was something else, bro. That was like...
I thought that Sargent thing, and this is a bit of the issue I have with Magnussen, is he doesn't know when to give up, when to call it quits in terms of, they passed me, it's okay. He's got it in his head that I'm the best defender, they will not get past me. That Sargent accident just reeked of arrogance and clumsiness to me, because it was... You can make an argument that he had his nose in there, but at the same time, putting your nose in does not give you entitlement to take your line.
Oh, for sure.
You know, there's a car taking especially in S's, which it was in. You know, it wasn't in the S's, but it was in an S section.
Exactly
You
that,
you
yeah.
can't expect a car where you're in the blind side to just give in for you, which is what he wants other people to do for him. So I don't know, man, and especially just his character, it does not sit well with me. I'm not happy with him at all, at
Yeah.
all.
No, I mean, I remember you shot me a WhatsApp message
I
during
was
the race after the
fuming.
incident. That was very funny. But yeah, I mean, listen,
Hamilton, though. Hamilton came out and said, look, that was hard racing. I enjoyed it. It was
Yeah.
okay. So credit for him because, you know, I think a lot of people brand Hamilton as a bit of a crybaby. And
for sure.
I think that was a good time for him to come out and be like, look, I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, no, well, I mean, it's good that I actually quite like the way Hamilton conducted himself through that. But again,
Same.
I don't agree with what Magnussen was doing, whatsoever. But
Well,
yeah,
he's 2 points away. 2 points away from a ban. I think
exactly
that's
that.
pretty important to mention.
But yeah, I think we've delayed the main story of the weekend for quite a while now, trying to avoid it. Lando
Yeah,
Norris, Lando
what a
Norris,
drive. What a drive.
P1,
Calm, cool, collected,
beautiful. What a race! I mean, you know,
well managed.
I was sitting there, and I'll be honest, I'm probably all of the McLaren fans' biggest op because I was preying on his downfall. I was I was sitting at the PC, and I was just thinking in my head, I'm cooked, I'm cooked, I'm cooked. I
You're
said
not going
McLaren's
to
washed,
swim
I'm
in the
cooked.
canal.
Well, I mean, you made the bet.
I know.
I made a safer bet with Mercedes, but
You did.
I was just sitting there and I was just thinking the whole time, I'm cooked, I'm cooked, I'm cooked. But dude, I can't discredit him. Lando Norris, what a phenomenal
No.
weekend.
No.
He has silenced everybody, including myself. He told me to eat it and that I should shut my mouth.
Lando
Granted,
no wins is no more.
exactly that. And I mean, that for me in my eyes has redeemed every missed opportunity he's had. It has put his stock so much higher than it could have been. And the one thing I really love about his victory, the one thing I absolutely love about his victory, even though Max had the floor damage, Lando had the pace the whole weekend. On the medium
That's
tires, he was electric. In all formats, he was electric on the mediums.
And what blew my mind was that through his stint, I know Max had already sustained the floor damage, but even on old tires, he was still 4/10 clear of Max's times.
Yeah.
And that's when I sat there and I thought, okay, we're in danger because Lando is now running 4/10 faster than Max on old tires. He's on something stupid like 25, 26 laps old mediums, you know, and bro, he he seems to be really on top of the tire management this season. I mean, we saw the same in China. He just managed the tires better than other people. Um, I do wonder how if that win would have still pulled off if Max didn't have floor damage, because Max still gave him a really good run for his money at the safety car. But at the end of the day, that's how you win. You know, sometimes and it's not like Max had a car issue. He made the fuck up himself. That was his mistake. And when I saw someone hit the bollard, the last person I expected it to be was Max. And
Well, if we look at
wow,
what was happening in that stage during the race, Max didn't have the floor damage while Lando was still doing his medium stint. I mean, Lando was the quickest car on the mediums.
that's true.
Without Max's floor damage, Lando was still faster on the mediums than Max was, which I think speaks volumes to just his driving over the whole weekend. I do believe, obviously, there's a certain factor of luck that played into it with the safety car timing.
Yep.
But he still had to capitalize. He still had to defend the position off the restart. Still had to look after his tires enough to be able to take them through to the end. Still had to look after his. He still had to look after his whole gap and his lead, and he had to manage himself until the end of the race. And you're about to win your first race after so many close calls, like surely the nerves are going absolutely bonkers and they're pumping in your head. So I mean, just big up to Lando. Really, really, really big up to him. I don't think I've seen a more popular race win in recent times. Everybody roots for him. which I really like the way that the drivers also conducted themselves towards Lando post race. That was lovely to see,
Same.
from Lewis giving him the huge round of applause in the car to everybody jumping up in parc fermé to come and congratulate him. I mean, I can't take anything away. I'm a McLaren hater. I'll be the first to admit it. I got shut up this weekend, and I'll eat that.
What I really, really liked about Lando this weekend was when they told him science is X seconds ahead, and he just went, okay, I'll go get him. And he did, basically. You know,
Yep.
his times were going to go get him. And I just loved that, you know, it gave me a reminder of like Daniel Ricciardo 2018, maybe 2019, in his Renault days, where they said, you got a 5-second penalty, and he just went, okay, I'll drive faster. You know, I just really loved that energy of, cool. I've got the confidence. He's not getting away from me. So, yeah, looks like I'm curious how much of that win was the McLaren upgrades, and the only reason I'm curious about that is because it gives me excitement as to how much they can take it to Red Bull for the rest of the season. Because we might not have a drivers' championship or a constructors' championship on, because catching Max with this many points already is a bit tough. I'm not counting it out, but it's tough. But there's nothing I'd hope more than Imola. Ferrari's upgrades bring fire. McLaren brings more upgrades. Merc upgrades, for some holy reason, do something, because they haven't in recent memory.
Yeah.
But maybe they do something. They're not going to challenge for wins, but maybe challenge for more podiums. Because this weekend, credit where credit's due, Lewis drove an amazing race in that shit box.
Exactly that. And I mean, I was actually rooting for Lewis kind of the whole race. Probably because he is a Ferrari prospect, and I love it when he gets his confidence up. But I mean, he was just doing a solid job the whole weekend. He kept his mouth closed. He kept on it. He was keeping up.
Yep.
He was doing what he
But
needed to
once
do.
his strategy didn't screw him,
Exactly that. And I mean, especially if you look off the start, Lewis had a banger start. Really,
yeah,
he climbed from what, P12 all the way down to P7,
P9, I think.
P9, P7, somewhere up there. But
somewhere
again,
there. Yeah.
the moves were solid, they were clean, they were concise, and just respect to him. Again, I mean, listen, I think, you know, all of these good drives, especially like even Tsunoda, what, P7 in the race, all of these fantastic drives, they've just been absolutely overshadowed by what Lando managed to achieve.
That's true.
Which I mean,
Because
I
there
think
were some fantastic drives from the back of the pack this weekend.
exactly that, yeah. But I mean, hopefully we're going to see a little bit more battling now. Obviously, McLaren came with their B spec car. They admitted it was a complete revolution of their car. It was literally a B spec version of the McLaren from the start of the year. The upgrade package was that significant, and it worked perfectly. Next race we have Ferrari upgrades coming in Imola, and obviously we still have Red Bull up the front. As you said, if we can get those three teams on a similar racing level, we are going to have a cracker of a season. We're only 5 races in. Let me remind you, this was the 5th race. We've still got 19 more to come. And Max is
That's
only
bonkers,
30 points
dude.
ahead
That's
in the
crazy.
championship. So,
And I mean, 30 is not much. You take one accident or one out, and
Not at
off you
all.
go. So we can't close the book as we have in previous years. You know, normally you're sitting here and you go, it's over.
exactly
no.
that. I still do think Red Bull's got a clear advantage, but as more upgrades are
agree.
starting to come onto the cars, I would love to see a McLaren, Red Bull, Ferrari battle up at the front. That would be so exciting.
For the sport, for the culture.
Exactly that. One thing that I did want to say, I've just lost it. I'll think about it again.
Okay,
come
well,
back to it.
there's one more comment I wanted to make about Lewis before you remember that, and that is quite simply that if he just had a little bit less downforce, obviously, then the whole thing changes. But the only thing that let him down this weekend was his car, because his driving was there. He just could not pass Perez because that straight line of the Red Bull was insane.
Yeah.
I was very curious to know how much further he could catch up to the rest and who he could still challenge. Because let's be honest, that Mercedes at the moment is a shitbox.
Oh yeah.
And more than
No doubt.
anything, I just love it when races like this happen, because people are so quick to say Lewis is washed, George Russell is destroying him, all these things. But the problem is, people forget Lewis does not start seasons fast. He builds into them. He grows with the car. And second of all, Lewis's peak is one of the highest on the grid, and you can't debate that. The facts say it all. So, you know, from that side, I was just really excited to see some of the narratives die down, yeah, I think I can imagine why you were rooting for him. It really gives some more excitement to him being in a Ferrari next year. Um, yeah. Welcome, James. Too bad we've already discussed Lando Norris. We're not going to talk about him for the rest of the episode. So you're too late.
Well, no, we
No,
are. We for sure
I'm kidding.
are. There's something that I'm going to bring up right now, Chris. Speak in our very 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 first podcast. Our very 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 first podcast on the channel. There was a certain bet that was made, a certain wager that was put on the season. Myself and Chris made a wager each. I'll start with my wager because it hasn't been fulfilled yet. By race 12.
This is too easy.
I said by race 12, if Mercedes won a race, I'd get the Mercedes emblem tattooed on my ass. And they haven't won a race. Amen. Bless you. Bless you, Mercedes. Chris, would you like to enlighten us as to what your wager was?
So first of all, I'm gonna be honest because I think some people would have forgotten this one, but I don't want it to be forgotten because I'm a man of integrity. Next episode, I will be shotgunning a seltzer because McLaren did become top 5. I just screwed up today because I've been running around and I didn't get one to do it live now, but I will do it live next episode. I swear on my life. And yeah, I've been doing some research this weekend. It started around lap 40. About some canals I can swim in without dying, or bilharzia and the rest. So yeah, this week you guys will be treated to a video of me jumping in a canal in like 15-degree weather. I'm glad Lando took this long to win because it's amazing. Because at least I've got a little bit of heat coming in this week in terms of some summer arising. But yeah, I will be looking for a canal and I will be swimming in it before Friday. So yeah,
Beautiful.
keep your eyes posted. I will have Pauli recording that.
That's beautiful.
So honestly, I'll take it. It's a weekend max didn't win, so it's one of those. What did it cost? Everything, but hey, we got it.
Exactly.
And
that.
I think I'm also very excited just to see what Lando does now before with this confidence. Yeah, James, I've been doing the research since lap 40, bro. I was scared then already. I had my dad and my girlfriend look at me like, yeah, you're kind of fucked. And I was just sitting there like, yeah, I know. I'm gonna start researching it now. And then when Crafty kept on talking about Lando, I was just sitting there like, commentator's curse, let's see it. Come on. And it never came. It never came. So credit where credit's due.
For sure.
Yeah, I'll do an Instagram live. If you want it somewhere else, let me know. I'm a man of the people. I'll put it wherever you guys want me to.
I think probably on the Instagram would be the best for it. Go on live. Give it about 15 minutes for everybody to join in so they can all watch. This is going to be great. This is going to be fantastic. Now watch next weekend. Lewis is going to claim a victory and I'm going to have to get a tattoo on my ass. Imagine that.
All of a sudden we know Imola upgrades were also a Spec B car, and all of a sudden the Mercedes is solved and Lewis wins and off we go. Give us 100,000 followers already.
Well, thank goodness my desk is made out of wood because I'm touching it right now. So that's definitely not going to happen. I think
Mclaren in P3.
I would say
in the standings.
Yeah, I would say P3 constructors as well. I think that's completely fair.
P2 is on. I think P2 is on, like for sure. Don't get me wrong. It honestly, it all just hinges on the Imola upgrades.
Exactly. If Ferrari's Imola package doesn't perform as it was expected, probably P2.
P2 is on.
But if the Ferrari, the rumors around the Ferrari upgrades are true, then I don't think they'll be P2. I think they'll stick P3. I think that this will be the high point of the season for them. I don't think they'll go much further, but you know what? That's just sheer bias coming out of my mouth. So it is what it is.
Your man. He's still doubting all you. He's still doubting the papaya, man.
Dude, I'm not.
Honest.
Dude, what do you mean?
Old Donald. I mean, he's also an orange man, so of course he supports the papaya. Him coming in, he must have pulled some levers.
For sure.
But the safety car now. Do it.
We had SEAL Team 6 sitting on the side of the track ready to snipe Magnussen's tires off the front of his car, causing the safety car.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm quite excited to see it. Depends on kind of the track as well. I feel like the cars are still quite
That's
track
fair.
specific. Um, so we'll see. Um,
Yeah, it is a wild timeline. I didn't expect to see this. Not to say McLaren ahead, but to see McLaren so far ahead. Purely because I didn't expect Mercedes to fall off. Not to discredit McLaren. I just did not expect Mercedes to fall off this greatly, and they're not handling it well.
that's exactly what
And
I was going to
I'm
say.
losing my patience with Toto Wolff. I'm losing it with him.
For sure. I mean, I was going to agree with you there. I wouldn't say I'm so shocked as to how far ahead McLaren is. I would say, yeah, I mean, I'm shocked that McLaren is so ridiculously good since last season. But I'm more shocked as to how far behind Mercedes is. They
Also,
are,
it's just like the turnaround from McLaren last season was insane. And then you look at
dude,
Mercedes and you're like, you guys are a fucking car manufacturing company. Like, McLaren is a racing team. How
exactly.
are you guys not doing it?
Yeah, no,
Again, credit to McLaren. They're killing it.
yeah,
Can't say anything bad.
I think McLaren is doing a bang up job, especially since if we look back to the start of last season, McLaren was
17
the
and
slowest.
18.
They were the slowest, second slowest, if not slowest car on the grid, carried by
Yeah,
driver ability. Um, so I don't know. I think, yeah, it is quite bizarre that the differential between the two teams is so huge. But again, I just think Zach Brown's done a better job of building a team around the two McLaren drivers than what Toto's currently doing with the two Mercedes drivers.
that's crazy. Yeah, it's yeah, and I think McLaren is also just showing how strong their lineup is because it's nice because I mean in the beginning James was Piastri was like doing quite well, and then he fell out because of science, and then Lando sort of took the baton and carried it. So that was cool.
Exactly
Sorry,
that,
James, I did not mean to delete your message. I don't know why it was deleted.
dude. What the hell? He's an important viewer.
You are
You
very
can't
important. Please don't
you
hate
can't
us.
censor him in our own chat room.
That's my public apology. I'm so sorry. We can still see them. Yeah, if I were a McLaren fan right now, I'd be so excited. It is such a bright future in terms of the team going forward, going this year, next year. Um, my only concern would be their slow starts in the seasons that we've seen. It seems like they rely on their upgrades to deliver the punch rather than their off season to do the work. Maybe they can fix that this year because if they do it 2 years in a row, oof, Luke, that's so true, but that hurts.
That's so
That
true, dude. What
hurts.
the fuck? Oh my days, that's
Oosh.
hilarious.
And yeah, Caden, you're 100% right. Like when you're doing better, when you're a customer doing better than the people you literally buy engines from, that is a bit embarrassing. And again, full credit to McLaren, but that is embarrassing. You're literally designing the engine for your suspension, for your gearbox, and you still manage to screw up. So, yeah. No, James, you're not silenced anymore. I promise. You're free.
James, we're just scared of getting cooked by the McLaren fans after the comments we've
That's
made.
so true. We've invited the McLaren mafia, and they're all just tearing us apart. And credit, you guys haven't had a win in since Daniel Ricciardo, who was quite a low point in the time. So you guys really deserve it.
Yeah, we're gonna change our name to Ferrari Nuts F1 soon. You guys are just not allowed in our chat room anymore unless you're wearing red. It was a pleasure doing business under the Wheel Nuts logo. But yeah, this is the official announcement. Our rebrand to Ferrari Nuts F1.
That's why the banner's red. The banner's red for a reason.
It's because motorsport is red and red is Ferrari, dude. That's exactly what I'm saying. No, okay, no, we're not going to get back into this.
Got to topic.
So yeah, I think one thing I would like to do is I would just like to go kind of team by team and rank kind of the winners and the losers from this weekend. Obviously, we can put them in like a meh category if they didn't really do either. But I would like to rate kind of who we feel are the big winners and the big losers from this season. I don't know if you want to start from the top and work our way down, or if you want to start from.
I think that's easiest. I think this weekend Red Bull were losers. In
100%.
comparison to the rest of their season, it was just disappointing. Max hitting the ball out, very un-Verstappen like. Perez getting battled by a shitty ass Merc that's
For sure.
nothing short of Nicky Lauda's phrase a shitbox. Yeah, disappointing.
Couldn't agree more. I think next up, McLaren, obviously, gigantic winners. Absolutely
Humongous. And
gigantic
I'm
winners.
so sad Piastri got taken out because I think they almost could have had a double podium on.
I
Would have
just
been
think
tough, but almost.
I don't agree. I think ever since the stint on hards, Piastri didn't have the same pace. I think the McLaren was operating the best on the mediums. Obviously, Lando having the fresh tyres plus the little bit of the downforce advantage over Max, kind of with the damaged car, that really did play into his favour. But we saw on Charles Leclerc quite easily caught Oscar Piastri on much older tyres. Um,
That's fair.
or sorry, not caught. He managed to extend a lead on Oscar on much older tyres. So I just don't think the hard compound was operating very well on the McLaren specifically. Um, so I'm not sure about the double podium, but they really could have gotten a much bigger points haul than what they actually did. Still, 25 points out of a weekend from one driver is fantastic. So you cannot call that anything other than a win. But again, they could have
Yep.
had more.
Agreed. Next up would be Ferrari. I'm tempted to put them in the meh because they had some times during the races where they were strong, but if we're honest, how this season has gone, they should have outperformed McLaren this weekend. But over the last 2 weekends, McLaren's really had the upper hand, and credit to them. So for me, I'm gonna say meh, if not losers.
For
Sainz
sure.
getting frustrated, Leclerc not being able to do much with Piastri in the beginning at least, and just sitting a bit behind.
Okay, hang on, hang on,
So,
hang on. So if we split Ferrari into two sides of the garage, one side is losers, one side's winners. I would do that. So that's why I agree with you in Meh, but I wouldn't put them close to losers. Carlos Sainz from the weekend, P5, P5. That's not ideal. In a car that has podium potential. Charles got P2, P3. And his two results from the weekend were P2, P3. That is a really decent weekend from Charles. That's a very good weekend from Charles. In a car that hasn't received its upgrades yet. I will say meh as well, just because only one car did well, and obviously Carlos had his little bit of his incident, and he couldn't pass a V carb. So yeah, I think meh's a fair rating for that.
I just wasn't surprised by Leclerc. Put it to you that way.
I mean, I don't know if he could have done much more than what he did, if I'm honest, without the upgrades.
Fair enough. Fair enough. This could be another 1 hour discussion, so I'm happy to leave it there.
Okay.
Mayor's happy. We
Meh's
agreed
alright.
there.
We'll take a meh. Alright,
Next
after
up,
that we can go to
probably Merc.
yeah, Mercedes. Losers.
I'd say same argument. Meh. Um, but I would lean more towards losers. Like if it's a spectrum, I think they're closer towards losers than winners. The only thing that could make them winners was Lewis's drive on Sunday. George Russell was the loser the whole weekend. Feels good to say that. But at least he wasn't a terrorist. I guess that's a winner in itself.
Exactly that.
But Lewis on Saturday also bit of a loser, struggling to overtake a Haas. I gathered that it wasn't his fault. He was really pulling out all the stops he could.
For sure.
Fantastic driving there. But as a team, meh, if not losers. I think we can agree there.
100%. I mean, I think the only way that we can call them winners is if they manage a top 4, top 5 finish. That's the only,
Correct.
and both cars are there or thereabouts. Anything less with Mercedes' kind of heritage and their stock
History, yeah.
and their history. I think anything less than that is just an absolute failure.
Agreed.
So
Next up,
should we do VCarb?
we could go the traditional route, and who should be there is Aston.
Aston Martin, yeah, that's true.
Complete losers.
Complete.
There is
I mean,
no
there's
way.
no doubt.
They fell off, and Fernando, being Spanish, got penalized. That's a whole topic in itself.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to say one comment. I find it very funny that Fernando is playing this victim thing of, like I only get penalized when I'm Spanish. But you have Lewis, who is a far bigger minority than being Spanish. But
For sure.
we're not going to get into the politics of that. And I mean, just what happened to them? Finally, Stroll out qualified Alonso, but then I think that was already the start of a bad weekend.
Exactly
Like,
that, yeah. You know,
bad sign.
any weekend where Stroll manages to out qualify Alonso, the car's not working right. And I think that you couldn't have said it any better, Broom. They should be there or thereabouts. Higher point scorers. kind of capping out with Mercedes not capitalizing. They should be around P4,
Yeah.
P5. Or, well, let's say P6, P7, around thereabout. But again, just a really poor weekend. I couldn't agree with you more. Big time losers from this weekend. Um,
Yeah.
After that, I think now we can aptly go into the VCOP. Arguably the second biggest winner from the weekend, I would say. Having granted both of their drivers at the same time didn't perform in either race, if they had both drivers performing higher points in both races, they would have been the biggest winner from the weekend. But the fact that they had a P4 finish and then a P7 finish, and they have climbed as far as they have again ahead of the rest of the backfield,
That's true.
that is really, really just you. That's all you can ask for. When you are consistently faster than a Mercedes in a VCOB, you know it's a good weekend.
I totally agree. There's not much more I can add on that. It was also very nice from them because it was a balanced weekend. You had Daniel pulling the weight on the Saturday and Yuki pulling the weight on the Sunday. So in terms of driver pairing, they complemented each other super well this weekend with each other.
100%.
That was a good one, Garrick. Credit where credit's due. That was a good one. Next up, let's do Haas.
100%. I think
I hate to say it,
they
but
are winners.
I have to
dude.
say meh.
No, bro, they're winners. They got points.
That's fair. I was gonna say meh just because K-Mag to me was such a loser that I can't justify calling them winners just because of Hulkenberg's
For sure.
performance. But you do have a point. They pulled in a haul of points.
I mean, if we disregard the driver picture, right? If you've got the driver
Yeah.
side of the garage, we could have rated every driver the winners and losers. But from an overall team
As a
perspective,
team, that's
any
true.
weekend where Haas scores points is a big win. And
And they're doing it so consistently now.
that's true. And I mean, I don't really know where this is coming. I think it's all off the back of Nico Hulkenberg heroics in qualifying, and then
Yep.
Kevin Magnussen terrorism. But you know what? If they're scoring points, they're scoring points, and that's all Gene Haas is asking for, and that's what's going to increase their investment into the team. So, credit where credit's due. They did give points. You can't complain about that.
I hate to say it, but Komatsu seems to be outperforming Gunther Steiner
Yeah, no
like
question.
hell.
No question.
Like crazy. And that makes me a little bit sad because I'm sad that Gunther Steiner has such a strong personality and good advertisement for Formula One
Oh,
is
yeah.
gone. But it seems that change was needed,
For sure.
unfortunately.
100%. I don't know who you
Williams,
we can do big time losers. Horrible losers from this weekend.
they were nowhere. They had some chances and they just couldn't execute.
I don't know.
And I had high hopes for that team coming in, and it seems like, this weekend they got their second chassis. It was meant to be a bit more exciting, but yeah, sophomore slumps, man. James Vowles is struggling in his second year, just like Piastri.
I completely agree, but I still have faith in the Valve process. I think that
So
team
do I.
intrinsically was so far behind the curve, from setup, operations, technology, wind tunnel, absolutely everything. They were so far behind the curve, and only now are they starting to get the utilities and the processes in place that a real Formula One team does. So obviously there is going to be a teething period, and I think this teething period is lasting a little bit longer than what James Vowles would have wanted. But I do believe that this is going to be a turnaround of that actual team. I think last year a lot of the performances were kind of carried by the fact that the drivers were so familiar with that same car concept. They were familiar with the driving style, the characteristics, and they were able to optimize based on that. So yeah, I don't know. I overall from the weekend they're losers, but I still have faith in the Vals project.
I just want to clarify very quickly. I wasn't slandering Piastri when I said he's at a sophomore slump. Besides this weekend, he has had a drop in performance compared to last year. Last year he was challenging Norris quite often. This year he's been a few steps back. So that's all that I meant. I don't think he's finished or done or washed or anything like that. I think this year he's just had a bit of difficulty getting back in. Yeah, next up, Kicksteak, Sauber Kicksteak.
Kick steak Sauber.
Kicksteak Sauber. See, they need to come up with a saying like VCAR, but an acronym. Yeah?
Again, just meh for me. I've kind of forgot that they were even in the race,
Agreed.
if in my eyes. Like, there was nothing really going on. I mean, Joe had a little bit of an overtake. He had a bit of a stint on the softs. That's about as much as I can remember. I remember for some point Bottas was flashed as like 47% of the fan vote for driver of the day, but that quickly disappeared when Lando won the race.
I don't know where that came from.
That's probably the only point that I actually realized that the Saubers were even competing, and that's pretty much been the story of the season. One thing happens, like a 30-second pit stop, and you're like, "Oh, Saubers here," and then they just kind of disappear for the rest of the weekend. They're just not an exciting group at the moment.
Or the opposite, that they do a 4.5-second penalty, and you think, "Oh my God, they're getting their shit together."
Exactly that.
Totally agreed. I mean, I can't even remember anything memorable. So yeah, who's next?
I think that's everyone. I'm pretty sure that's everyone. We haven't missed anybody.
Would be such a meme if we were forgetting a major team. I know we're not, but it would be so funny.
No, I think we've done everybody. But I mean,
We have.
I think just kind of reflections from the weekend again. Fantastic weekend from Lando. Cannot fault him in any way. I think we've both eaten our words a little bit. Again, obviously when there is a shock, when there is a certain level of luck involved in anything like that, but we'll see kind of how it goes and how the rest of the season plays out. Hopefully we're going to get that exciting season that we think after the Imola upgrades roll around, and then we have that big break until the next upgrades patch. So we'll kind of see, we'll take it as it goes. Imola is a very, very, very different style of track to what a Miami is. A bit more of like a classic layout, kind of more classic in terms of kind of the requirements of the car. So we'll kind of see who can dial in the setup the best and work the package the best that weekend.
I agree, and I do expect McLaren to come back in strong. This is a track the car should like. Nice hard downforce, fast-paced, tire management.
A good track from them.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see that, and more than anything, I'm excited to see all the upgrades coming in from Ferrari, to see the list of what exactly they bring in. So we got an exciting season ahead, and I couldn't be more happy to say that.
Absolutely, me neither. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's much more else to say. I mean, what an absolute fantastic weekend from Lando. I don't think I've seen a bigger kind of outcry of support on social media from any driver's surprise win. Just ridiculous congratulations to him and McLaren again. To the McLaren fans, I apologize for my words. I will sit here and I will admit that I'm resenting what I said. Sorry if I hurt your feelings.
Join the club.
I can't wait to hurt your feelings again when the Ferrari upgrades come. But yeah, again, nothing really.
Jordan, there's some fighting words there. Do you want to put?
Dude, I'm pissed. I'm pissed.
Do you want to put something on it? Do you want to put something on it that these Ferrari upgrades work?
Oh yeah. Okay. What can we put on it? If
McLaren managed to pull out another win in the next 3 races, let's say. We'll keep it short. 3 races. What are you thinking here? I
can't offer another tattoo because the McLaren logo looks like an orange sperm cell. Nobody will know what it looks like. Dude, this is so because the McLaren fans are gonna eat my fucking entire heart if I get eaten alive here.
Caden, it's not that we don't learn, it's that this has now become our road to success and to viewership. It's just by making outlandish bets that we know will go wrong and then hoping it just doesn't hit. Okay, so coming to you later in the week will be Jordan's decision about what will happen if McLaren win in the next three races. We're very excited to see that.
You know what I'll do? You know what I'll do?
Oh, here we go.
I will organize myself a McLaren supporters shirt and I will rock it for the rest of the season.
The rest of the season? Okay, so for the rest of all these episodes, you will have to wear a McLaren t-shirt.
Pretty much.
Okay, so there you go, folks. There's your bet of the week. It seems like this might become a segment for us.
I'm cooked. I'm cooked.
You will be on Thursday. I'm free on Thursday, so I will probably be doing my canal swim on Thursday. It is a bigger canal than you might expect, but it is still a canal with ships, etc. So, yeah, go McLaren! Thank you everyone so much for tuning in with us. Thank you for causing some more mental distress to Jordan. We really appreciate it. Please make sure to stay subscribed. Click the notifications to hear when we go live. Make sure to keep posted on our Instagram channel. Ooh, that's also a good one. Make sure to keep posted to our Instagram channel for when we're going live, any more updates, and of course this week we got some bets coming to you. So keep posted for Thursday. I'll post more details later in the week. Jordan, any final words?
I'm cooked. I'm cooked. I'm cooked. I'm cooked.
So that's
I'm
that.
Cooked. Oh no.
So that's Jordan's last word. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a fantastic week and see you later in the week.